Welcome back to my second episode of Thinking is Ghetto. If I fuck up, as we know, who gives a shit? Thinking is Ghetto. I don't think, baby. I just know. I'm a young mogul, a YouTube star. I do acting too, like Killcast on Tubi. Anyways, guys, welcome back to the second episode. I hope your last Wednesday was finding you more than well. I hope this Wednesday's finding you more than well. And I wanted to give some personal updates and talk about some fascinating things that I always like to think are not being talked about enough. So, my Niagara Falls movie convention, I've been doing some research on that, and I wanted to tell you, horror movie buffs here, I wanted to let you guys in on something that my original plan was to do the event at a hotel per se, and after looking into it and doing some research of it, the last couple days here, I want to say that as a business standpoint, to actually make some money, I don't think it would be a wise business decision to get a hotel venue. Mind you, I am very much going to get a good professional big venue where it can hold a good amount of people, a good capacity. And I wanted to say that because I don't want you guys to be thinking this or that. But anyways, I really did look into some cheaper venues that are more so just for events, and I'm going to try to go down there and look at some of them and see which one that I would like to see in person that would be the best for my event here for horror my horror movie convention here. Niagara Falls movie convention. Go look it up on Instagram and go follow the page. I'll be updating there soon periodically. Yeah, as a business standpoint, I think it would just be more wise to rent a more professional laid out big space that's just close to hotels and maybe 10 minutes away from the falls, so you're not so lost in the mix of having to go everywhere. It'll all be pretty much centrally located in one spot for everybody. So that's the ideal plan for you guys. I really want to try to get the Fembot down here for my Niagara Falls movie convention. I'm trying to get one of the main fembots, but I want to say in the last year or so that my views have changed, and I want to say she's probably still um, Team Hef, if you will. So I don't know if I can kind of coax her into coming. Maybe she might, or maybe I can find another fembot. Needless to say, I really think it would be a cool convention first, and I'm gonna look into that more so. And maybe she could just set aside my own personal views and just kind of maybe just give me another chance at coming down, because I thought it would be great to have Barbara Moore down. I always wanted to meet her. I find the fembot scene in Austin Powers is probably one of the most iconic comedy clips in cinema in the 90s, if you ask me. And that's just my personal opinion for comedy, anyway, because that's what comes to my mind. So, everybody, I wanted to get right into my episode. Just wanted to give you guys a personal update on Niagara Falls movie convention. Go look it up on IG. But yes, I was researching one night, like how I always do, and I'm always interested in knowing about hidden knowledges and, well, stuff that's not really being talked about enough, like I always say. And I wanted to say I discovered something kind of scary, in my opinion, and I don't think this whole video is an opinion. By the way, I should make T-shirts that say "in my opinion," because I say it so fucking much on this thing. Like, holy crap! Sometimes I'm going, damn. I just gotta be, safe than sorry than rather not be. So, anyways, I will get into this subject matter with you guys. It's called China, and I want to say it's China and their floating military bases that are kind of like artificial man-made islands, if you will. And I think it's kind of scary. China. I'll read some articles on this. And how I got into this though was I was looking up some, I guess, sci-fi mysteries of the world and just really trying to look at the floating city that was in China many years ago. And for some reason, I stumbled upon this floating city, or it's some kind of article, and so I was very much intrigued by it. And of course, it doesn't seem to be, in my opinion, too good. I mean, just a personal opinion, I don't think it's ever wise, if you ask me, to ever fuck with the Chinese. It's just like, just give them what they want. They got over a billion people there. It's just not a wise idea when they can produce chemical warfare over and over and mass produce it with the millions of warehouses and factories that they have. So that's just a personal view and opinion on mine. Like, hey, if China, if they want something, just, you know, not totally cave in, but work with them to the point where they're not pissed off at you. Anyway, okay, guys, this China floating artificial island. Okay, it is not good if you really look into it. I was researching some of the I should say military tools that are being on some of these islands, and I'll read you just a little bit about it here. It says China is in the process of building a 78,000-ton artificial island designed to withstand nuclear blasts. It is a mobile semi submarine twin hull platform that could support 238 people for 4 months without the need of new supplies. And this is just one island. And I will post a video link down below from 6 months ago from Times XP about this whole situation, and they will give you a little more insight on it too as well. But they use satellite images for when they first found out about these islands, and some of the it does not look good. Their satellite images from what they found, and it's always intriguing to me why such fascinating hidden knowledges that are just not ever being talked about or just not in the mainstream news as much, if you will. Real shocker there, but it's just kind of mind blowing. It almost feels like if you're into like conspiracy theories, if you will, or science or stuff among those lines, I feel like you would more so be paying attention to these hidden mysteries or more so scary even thoughts, if you will, about certain things like this. And I don't know, some of the stuff I was researching on it, some of these man-made military islands that they or actually they're trying to build, I pardon me, like military cities, if you will, like so that way. And considering that some of the satellite images, one island does kind of look like a small city, and they do have a lot of nuclear weapons on that. And it's intriguing to me because they were also mentioning in the video below that from some of the satellite images, they could see some of the old war weapons that were used in the old war from Taiwan. So that's not good. I don't think that would ever be good. No, and it's already happening in that sense. Like these islands are, I want to say, in my opinion, can't say for sure or pinpoint it down to the exact fact, but if these are already being made, these China military made islands, if you will. And what scares me is that China can mass produce and make these things over and over again. Like if they wanted to make another man-made island, if you will, they could build quite a few, and I feel like that would be, the most sense if you're gonna try to protect your country of a billion people or more. You would have these, maybe perhaps down the line, more floating military cities just to protect yourself as a country. And really, you can produce all these weapons and get help from all these other countries because everyone is semi close to China because they do produce a lot of what we consume even over here in the Western world. So that's why I always say we got to be cool with the Chinese. Like we can't be, fucking with them too much. Really, and I mean, and even ideally, even if we disagree with the Chinese and they wanted to do what they see fit down the line, I feel, in my opinion, they are one of the most smartest people on this planet. So they're just gonna play you along, in my opinion, and maybe just tell you what you want to hear, and then ideally in the long run, just go at it the way they see fit with these military islands. But that's what really raised a concern to me was some of the old tools that were used in the Taiwan War or on some of these man-made shift military islands, if you will. And I will go on about this all day long because it is quite frightening and scary. I don't think anybody wants to really go at this in that sense. If you get what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Um, I don't. I think us Canadians over here, we're a lot more of peacekeepers. We don't kind of see fit to some of these other things, and gun violence or nuclear war. We're kind of like modern hippies over here now that we got legal. We're just kind of like doing our own thing, and for the most part, we like everybody. Is I guess what I'm saying, and we like to keep a neutral, safe, peace space for everybody, and that's kind of our attitude. And I think that's why we do well in politics. And I'm not going to get into politics, but with China, I think we're more than easygoing sometimes, more than too easygoing. But for the most part, that's what makes us great over here is that we're easygoing and we love everybody in that sense. So the China builds military cities to counter Taiwan and U.S. threat. That's the video. If you want to just type it in quickly, or just go down to the link below for it. But yeah, it's in the South China Sea is where some of this is being made, and I feel like more of these tools could get pretty much distributed to these man-made islands, if you will, over and over and over again. And then if you wanted to get technical, the support from other countries, it would potentially, in my opinion, could get out of hand. Yeah, the satellite images were quite interesting if you were to take the time to look at some of the top shots of these man-made islands and some of these military bases that are on islands, and it's just not looking good in that sense. I really would like to hope that this is just maybe, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but maybe they are just doing this to have the attitude better be safe than sorry, like I always say. And like, I think for the most part, China wants to work with most countries because we are, a lot of people are consuming from them and buying from them constantly all the time. So I think this is just a more so better way to protect themselves and their people, and because there is a huge amount of people there that I'd like to think that, in my opinion, maybe I better not get into that other one. Never mind. But yeah, this is I don't know. There's stuff spotted on this island that is not looking good. It's huge runways, underground military shelters, and mass aircraft hangars. All sorts of stuff like that are going on there, and that's just me reading just a little thing there on it. And I want to say this was more so becoming a topic at hand more. Well, not even a topic at hand because no one's really going off on these in the mainstream media, if you will. So I'm noticing a lot of November 2025 is when they were more so discussing this in some of the blogs, and it's like, and I guess 3 years they could have more floating islands. By 2028, weighing 78,000 tons, and submarine missiles, all sorts of stuff like that, long duration missions, blast resistant as well. There's going to be a lot of that on there. I was going to say there's this thing I was looking at some of the foundation. That's what I was going to say, like blast resistant. Like even if you were to try to, in my opinion, try to just destroy these islands if you wanted to, or a situation in that to that effect. I don't think you would be able to because it is going to withstand nuclear blasts and other things. So that's very interesting when you really look at it, because if they're making these military bases and islands to protect themselves from nuclear blasts and make these islands to the point where they're not going to be indestructible, That really got to make you wonder, along with some of the tools from the old Taiwan War that are on these floating artificial islands. And it's like got this also this I want to say these rare blast resistant designs on some of the, I want to say, on the outside of the islands, like on the outside of the perimeter of the island. That would be, I would like to think, most sense. And then the foundation under the structure of some of these, it could go on, but I don't think that we are in a position to ever, you know, fuck with China. These floating nuclear islands, let me tell you, I think it's a plan, a grand plan, in my opinion. More so, maybe a strategy or a testing strip, just to, see how far we could go with this. I really think it's really interesting engineering that they are doing over there. I think it's quite fascinating, some of this stuff from China. Also quite scary too, because these are artificial islands that can be made, and the one holds 78,000 tons, and they're floating. So meaning that they could go to where they would need to protect themselves, which is even more scarier. If you wanted to really research some of the pictures of these islands, you can so, but there's not like a ton of great deal of photos online pertaining to what I'm talking about. There's like maybe a handful, and they're just repeats when scroll and scroll and scroll. And I'm like, okay, so I'm at my page right now, and I think I literally just went to the second page of what I typed in, and photos are done at the second page. And with something like this, you figure it would be, lots of photos, but some of the photos it's really hard to decipher. You can really just kind of zoom in, or just kind of get the idea of what's already even there without zooming in. Some of their nuclear tools and military bases, you can quite literally see that they have bases there, and it's a what if to protect themselves. A floating islands, though, you really got to take into consideration that could be very scary. Like all the floating um nuclear weapons on these. Uh, I think that's, in my opinion, that this would make most sense if you're gonna try to. I don't know. Not that I'm saying that any government agency or whatever has any intent to do this, but if you're gonna like blast off, other people, wouldn't that, you know, kind of be the way to do it with, well, one tool of, I think they could do it. More so projecting what they would want in the long term effect of this, if that were to be the case. I think they do, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm getting all crazy with my coughing here, but I do think, in my opinion, that it would be not a horrible thing to protect yourself and keep yourself safe and your country safe, which there's a lot of people there, and we do use a lot of their resources. So, and China's got their own politics and a lot of problems as well, just like any other country. So, but more so, maybe they have more problems more so than others because of the people. Meaning, over 1 billion people, so they're gonna have more problems than here in Canada. I just don't think it's a very good decision to fuck with China if, maybe the Americans, or, their government is maybe not, I don't know, on the best terms with them. Like, I think they should just leave the Chinese alone, because it does really much look like they do have intentions for using this, and they do have other, I want to say, artificial islands as well, and they're not more so used for they're not used for military. But if they wanted to see fit, they could. If they wanted to build more and do more, you got to remember the parameter of China. Never eat shredded wheat. North, east, west, south. I would assume they would do floating islands of nuclear related, around the country just to protect themselves. I've why I'm getting so confused on this is because I haven't really looked at my map here to really give you guys a more thorough investigation on the perimeter of their country and where you would have to kind of have all these zones, if you will, around your country, in the middle of your country, these bases. But I'm kind of getting off topic here. They do have other artificial intelligence that I think they are using in China to kind of keep tabs with how they can keep maybe progressing in the long run of how much we can make these islands stronger, what more we can do with them. And I would like to think, in my opinion, AI could maybe help them possibly in the long run. Just an opinion, don't know for sure. So China has built and made quite a few artificial islands, mainly, I want to say, where is it here? In Spartley Islands and Parcel Islands. So those are artificial islands. So what's on these islands? 3,000-meter runways, missile defense systems, radar and surveillance systems, military barracks, deep waters ports. They function as military bases to project power and control shipping lanes in the South China Sea. But I'm reading this little thing from ChatGPT here, and they're trying to insinuate there's no confirmed public evidence that China placed nuclear weapons on these artificial islands. And I think they're talking about the Spartley Islands and Purcell Islands, but these other islands that are being used for underground military shelters and aircrafts and nuclear weapons on some of these other ones. I will post the link down below for the Times X video. It's about a 4-minute clip, and they're pretty much talking about how they would go on the sea and do these kind of things. So check it out, everybody. And I wanted to say again, I'm not trying to be a broken record, but I'm very much looking forward to doing my Niagara Falls movie convention. I just have a little bit more research I've got to do just on foot, really. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Niagara Falls is a beautiful little town there. It's very much a real life ASMR, if you will. It's just like you could just fall asleep instantly there. I know that's what I did last time I went there. That's all I freaking did was sleep and then ventured around a little bit. And I didn't get as much work done on my event then. I really needed a lot of sleep back then. So just a mini update on all of that. And I want to also say to you as well, guys, thanks for always tuning in to my little dog and pony show, as I call it. And I want to say next week's episode is going to be more so among the lines of conspiracy theory in music. So, and I want to tell you guys now this for my next episode. I would like to hope you guys perhaps just keep a very much an open mind to my music conspiracy theory for next week. I don't know it. I try to would like to go with these conspiracy theories and go with what would make most sense, since it's just a conspiracy and we can't really pinpoint the truth and really go, hey, we're basing this off facts. So when it comes to conspiracy theories and just certain things that make me raise an eyebrow, I will definitely try to give a more layered context of what I would like to think would make the most sense on a conspiracy theory. Because with these conspiracy theories, you do very much take a chance on sounding absolutely batshit crazy. Especially with this next report I'm doing. I'm like reading it back to myself, going, I don't know, like this is gonna sound nuts, but if I lay down some structured details and maybe some history and information, then maybe you'd be like, hey, maybe he's not so crazy, and maybe just maybe it'd leave you guys to have a debate on some of these hidden mysteries, and like more so, like, I don't know, I don't want to say subliminal messages and backgrounds, but I would like to just say to everybody, just keep a very open mind on my next video, which will be for Thinking is Ghetto, episode 3. And if, like I always say, if I'm gonna fuck up, who gives a shit? Like, thinking's ghetto. So I'll see you guys next Wednesday. To my horror movie peeps, I will keep you updated as soon as something good happens that's worth sharing. I will share over on the Niagara Falls Movie Convention page. If you're not following it over there, please go give it a follow. And I very much look forward to just doing that one day down the line. I'm trying to maybe aim for August, everybody. So see you next Wednesday. And again, please don't think I'm batshit crazy with my next one. I'm really going to try to lay off ones or information that would make sense. See you next Wednesday, everybody.